It's time for Fully Threaded Radio.
It is Fully Threaded Radio, voice of the FCH Sourcing Network. This is the online, on-demand Fastener podcast where we track the ups and downs of the fastener industry, the drama, the vicissitudes. So, if your fortune is linked in any way to industrial fasteners, this is the podcast for you. We're so glad you joined in. Eric Dudas with you. As always, I'm joined by fashion maven and code slinger Brian Musker. Hey, Bri, doing all right?
I'm not the fashion maven, it's Bob Bear, okay? Code slinger, that's me, okay? I just had to rush away to my dictionary to work out what vicissitudes really meant, okay?
Well, we've got plenty of them on this episode. Even Bob GQ Bear would agree, I'm sure. This is episode 114 of the podcast. We're publishing this time on March 9th, 2017. Yeah, there's a lot jammed into this one, Bri. Ups and downs, big news all over. It was hard to figure out what to leave in and what to cover.
Yeah, big news for all sorts of things, actually.
That's right. We're going to start with a conversation with Kenny Sanker. He's with Blue Chip Engineering, but he was also recently added to the Young Fastener Professionals Board of Directors. He'll bring us up to speed on what's going on with that organization. We'll also be getting an update on the joint SEFA Southwest Fastener Association meeting that's happening next month in New Orleans. That'll be with SEFA President Terry Windham. He's got the full rundown. Our feature segment today is a discussion with Sems and Specials boss, Big Papa Jim Kelam. And the conversation is even more of a big deal because Jackie Ventura joined in. She goes way back with Jim and Sems. You're not going to want to miss this one. On the Fastener News Report with Mike McNulty, big news this time involving the Fastener Distributor Index, and R.W. Baird analyst Dave Manthey sits in with Mike to cover all of that. Talk about vicissitudes, Bri.
Yeah, just as well he's there to explain the numbers, actually.
Of course, this may be the opposite. You'll find out all about it in mere moments. And Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute.
Just to bring us back to earth, okay? The practical realities of fasteners.
It is practical, and this time he uses the phrase fully threaded more than in any previous Fastener Training Minute, too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your training's been working then.
I don't know about that, but we're going to bring it on. And as I said, it's pretty jam-packed. Also, we're jam-packed with fine sponsors.
Oh, we are, and that's something we're very lucky for. The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stellfast and the Lindstrom family of companies, including Titan Fasteners. Stellfast, for service you deserve and people you trust. And the Lindstrom family of companies, Lindstrom, by any measure. Also sponsoring Fully Threaded Radio are 3Q, US-made fasteners, Buckeye Fasteners, Fastener Fair Mexico, InSequel Software, the National Industrial Fastener and Mill Supply Expo, known as the Vegas Show, the Worth Group, ND Industries, Fastenal, Volt Industrial Plastics, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man. Thanks to all of you. We look forward to another profitable year together.
Exactly. No vicissitudes required.
Right. Yes.
But if some of those should occur, we'd be glad to provide a shoulder to cry on, or we'll just listen to your laments or your successes, which are probably more likely this year, we hope. You can do so at the email address ftr@fullythreaded.com. We're also available on Twitter, where the handle is fullythreaded.
Right.
Bri, we've used the analogy for the fastener industry of soap operas in the past, and it's just so appropriate that we had to kind of redux that again. As the screw turns, I think was what we used last time. But I'm telling you, you name it, it's just we've got news, we've got fake news, we've got young, old, we've got acquisitions, we've got surprising in a good way numbers for the month of February, and it just keeps going.
Right. Yeah, a little bit of optimism floating around all over the place, actually.
Yeah, you gotta like it. And on top of all that, we've got previews of some of the spring events coming up, and those are just getting underway now. We'll be heading out to Long Beach very shortly to take part in the NFDA and Pat West event. We're looking forward to that, and we'll have some coverage of that on the next episode. But it just doesn't stop. The screw is turning. We may not be young, but I guess we're kind of restless to get it all going.
Speak for yourself.
Well, however you come down on that one, folks, we'll be back in mere moments to get this one going. It's fully threaded.
2 men, 1 server, a fastener dog, and a stunning lack of more lucrative alternatives. It's fully threaded radio.
Why do distributors turn to Lindstrom? Because we're committed to being the source for everything distributors need, including packaging and manufacturing. If you need less than bulk, packaged product off the shelf, or custom packaging, Lindstrom has it all. Ask about kits, assortments, and our new VMI bin pack program. Whether you need special lengths or thread pitch, altered parts, studs, or manufactured parts, inch or metric, large parts or small, Lindstrom has you covered. We also manufacture special washers in addition to sockets, bolts, and nuts. Need a prototype part? Call Lindstrom. As the leading specialty fastener master distributor, Lindstrom is focused on a single goal: to bring our distributors the perfect combination of convenience, flexibility, value, and choice. To be the source for everything distributors need. When you need something special, turn to Lindstrom. To learn more about Lindstrom and our expanded brand of value-added products and services, visit lindstromfastener.com or call a sales representative at 1-800-572-5550. Lindstrom, by any measure.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
Harry, now that you use InSequel software, how do you like it?
InSequel has delivered. They truly are written for fastener distributors. It's affordable and their support staff is great.
We found InSequel's support staff has depth. They know our industry, and they certainly know their software. I see they've helped you pronounce InSequel.
Yes, but what does InSequel mean? Is it written in SQL? Is the data stored in SQL? Are they located in SQL?
InSequel uses the industry standard Microsoft SQL database, which is why it's so powerful and easy to use.
Oh, the database is stored in SQL. I don't even know where that is. I hear it's a nice place.
Harry, InSequel uses a SQL database because it's current technology and your data is completely accessible. No more expensive custom reports.
Is that why InSequel is so easy to use? Where is SQL on the map?
One of their many support members will help you answer that. Go to their website, www.inxsql.com, or call toll-free 877-446-9775.
In this economy, I need to cut cost and freight, or I'll lose my customer.
Solution Man Ken. The more you order, the more you'll save. With free freight on orders over $1,000. See the Solution Industries website for details at solutionIND.com.
Solution Man, you're my fastener hero.
Just doing my job, ma'am.
Hey, this is Clayton Allen from Buckeye Fasteners in Cleveland, Ohio, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Brian and Eric, back with you, watching that big screw turn. Fully threaded.
We've got to find a different analogy, okay?
But it's so apropos, Bri.
With all its many vicissitudes, you're right.
Yeah, we covered that. Here's one of them. Got this from our buddy Charles Chang over there in Taiwan. Some of you may have heard him kicking off one of our recent episodes, advising everybody about what was going on over there related to the Hanjin situation. This time, he's given us an alert about what's happening with a new Labor Standards Act, basically that went into effect at the beginning of the year, and it's having an impact on platers and heat treaters.
Okay.
I'll just read from his email here. Shot this over to us a couple days back. Said, as you may be aware, due to a new labor law in Taiwan effective January 1st, overtime wage rates on weekends and holidays is now about 3 times the normal weekday wage. This creates a huge cost impact to processes that usually have to run 24 hours nonstop, such as heat treatment. So he goes on to say that lots of heat treaters and platers in Taiwan are kind of shutting down their production on the weekends to avoid those costs, and this is causing some delivery delays.
Wow, that would be pretty critical.
Definitely falls into the vicissitudes category for some people.
Yep.
So he finishes off saying that as best he can tell, this situation is causing about 2 weeks delays at this point, and that's in deliveries on products requiring heat treatment, I'm gathering.
Wow, and probably liable to get worse, I would think.
Well, we'll try to keep abreast of it, but thanks for advising us on that one, Charles. We rely on our network of news gatherers to help us along with the podcast.
Right, even though we claim that we're not really a news site, we leave that to specialists like McNulty.
That's true. Who's coming up in the next segment. And folks like Global Fastener News. You know, I saw they updated their whole site recently, and I have to say it looks pretty good, although I didn't see this story listed there. But they do have a lot of coverage over there, and I don't know exactly what's going on with the subscription model at globalfastenernews.com, but it seems like I can get into lots of stories where previously some of the online content was reserved only for subscribers. So not sure all the developments are going there, but I have to say that I like what I see currently.
Okay.
Numerous fine news gathering organizations out there. They don't need us to tell them that. Another one, Link Magazine, saw a real good tweet fly by the other day related to one of our friends, and that's InSequel Software. Lots of you folks know InSequel links up with FCH, which we'll talk about in a second. But InSequel's got their big user group conference set for March 27th and 28th. They do that each year. It happens in Las Vegas. If you haven't had enough of Vegas, get out there early. Registration's now open, and you can either call the InSequel folks or get out to their website, which is inxsql.com. Talk to Bob and the gang, and don't forget to tell them how much you like the FCH interface, because we're constantly making improvements to that.
Right.
You pointed out that you're the code slinger, Bri. That is one of the areas that you definitely have been slinging lately.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yes, we're the folks who bring you the FCH sourcing network. Hope you get out there whenever the need comes up to find a hard-to-find part. That's www.fastenersclearinghouse.com.
Fasteners with an S.
And what's the S for this time, Bri?
Search engine.
And some big changes are coming through with this search engine, and I think you're going to talk about that in just a second. Speaking of that, I saw a very interesting example of a search that went through just the other day. To give you folks an example, if you're not listing your inventory on the network yet, this is the kind of thing that we see fly by all the time. Guy was looking for a part. He said, we're currently searching for a new supplier for black phosphate machine screws and sheet metal screws. Can someone please call back and talk to me about what you have to offer? Now, he sent this to one of our members who was listing those, and he received this inquiry. Now, how would your sales folks like to receive something like that? In other words, here's a person, probably a distributor, and they're looking for a new supplier of something that you carry. Well, that's what happens all the time on the FCH sourcing network. So you need a part, get out to FCH. If you're looking to move inventory, www.fastenersclearinghouse.com.
Right.
You've got the message, folks. Now, Brian, you have been making some big changes to the search interface, which is where all the action happens on the network. What's going on?
Right, yeah. Well, a year in the making, okay. We have developed a new search engine, totally different technology, and we're putting it through its trials and testing at the moment. It gives you a lot more chance of refining your search. You can choose screw drive types, head types, point types, whether you want domestic, bolts to be domestic or international manufacture, a number of other things. And so if you're interested in using a new search to find your fasteners on FCH, then we would encourage you to contact us. You can either do that at fullythreaded.com or by going out to our own Fasteners Clearinghouse website and putting a contact us. And it'll probably go through testing phase for probably another month or 2 months yet, okay?
So in other words, you're looking for folks who are interested in helping you test, but the whole thing should be ready for general release in about a month.
About a month or a little later, depending if we get comments and things like that, suggestions as to how to make it even better.
Well, we're counting on that, but we're also counting on a pretty good general release because I've seen what you're doing, and it's exciting. A lot of new features, a lot of increased performance, and I think overall the searchability of the site is going to improve once you develop this, and so it's going to be good in general for the network.
Right. We're releasing it on the public side first, and we're going to put a slightly enhanced version of it into our members' login area.
This being kind of a soap opera themed episode, Bry, shouldn't we have left that for the very end, like a cliffhanger?
Yeah, well, no, we'll cut the soap opera bit out, okay.
Yeah, well, like it or not, I think we just destroyed the theme.
Okay, right.
Well, Bry, I was looking through the Fastener News Desk site the other day, as I am wont to do, and I see they have a series of articles with some of the directors of the Young Fastener Professionals group. They're doing a nice job over there at Fastener News Desk, keeping everyone abreast of what's going on with YFP.
Good.
Because I know you're on the edge of your seat about that.
I know I am. You're right. Yeah. You're spent.
But what I decided to do was, instead of just relying on the Fastener News Desk, get really deep into this story. And for that, we thought we would reach out to Kenny Sanker. He's with Blue Chip Engineering. He's also a director of YFP. I haven't talked extensively to Kenny in the past, neither have you, Bryce, so this ought to be fun. Hey, Kenny, you out there?
Yes, I sure am.
Good.
Thanks for jumping in with us on a fully threaded segment. How'd you get involved with YFP? Let me ask you, are you young?
I'm 30 years old.
But are you restless?
Sometimes.
Right, he's too young to know what that reference is all about.
Right. Sorry, I should never have said that. Sorry.
Give us your impression of what's going on over there at YFP. I've seen, among other things, through these articles that it seems like the organization is regionalized a little bit. Is that kind of one of the things that you're doing?
Yeah, they at first they only had, I believe, 4 directors, board members, and then I had just signed up just to be a member, just of the YFP group, be involved with it. And I went to a few of their events out at the Vegas show this past year, and then they contacted me and said they were expanding and getting some regional board members on, and asked me if I'd like to be involved in it. And I, of course, said yes because it was a good opportunity. And we've just kind of been going from there. So it's expanding each regional board member in different regions. It's pretty nice.
So what's the ultimate aim of having? Is it to just make sure you have a much broader representation across the U.S.?
Yeah, it's to get all the younger generation kind of. They actually have a program called AIM. It's advancing individuals through mentoring, and it's pairing the people that are younger coming into it with mentors that are to help them focus, further their career, and their personal goals in their career and what they want to do, and it's also create like a more like a platform for all the young people to come in and get to know each other through events and like social networking and at different shows, just to kind of make it easier. A lot of the younger people think of it as just like a job, and it's kind of intimidating when you first get into it, but this is kind of to get them educated on what the industry is all about.
So did you get involved in what was going on in Las Vegas, and did you actually think it was really pretty worthwhile?
Brian, you're talking about the YFP networking event that happened right before the show, right?
Yeah, I am.
I thought that was pretty good. You guys did a good job on that.
Yeah, that was a good. I wasn't involved in any of that, but I attended it, and it was good. It was really nice. It was kind of like a speed networking thing, and met a lot of people, and it's kind of a little icebreaker thing. And it's a good thing to do.
A lot of people know your dad, Ken Sanker, of course, with Blue Chip Engineering. So I suppose you have some mentoring built right into your career. And how long have you been in the fastener industry?
I've been in, I guess right now about 4 years solid. But like I've been, I've worked in the warehouse when I was younger on the summers and been around it kind of my whole life. So.
Sure. The typical fastener progeny story. We've heard that quite a few times.
Yeah.
But you've had a lot of your mentoring built right in, which is cool for some of the folks who haven't been so fortunate. This program, the AIM program, really sounds like it's what they need. And can you give us a little bit more detail on that? I mean, we announced this on the podcast, gosh, what was it, nearly a year ago probably now? And I don't think we've really had a status update on it. What's your impression of the way things are going with that, Kenny?
Well, I haven't been too deep into it yet because we've just been introduced into the YFP as the board members, and here in the next few months I believe is where we're gonna get deeper into it. But from what I've seen so far, it's gonna be a really good thing for all the younger generation getting into it. It's gonna give an education to them and help the people that are the companies that are hiring understand where they're coming from and what they need to succeed in the industry.
So how do you choose the mentors, or do the mentors volunteer? How does that come about?
I believe it's going to be whatever the individual, where they want to go in their career and what they want to do. They'll be paired with somebody, that can help them go to where they want to go.
Okay. I mean, the theory's great, actually.
There's details about this program, everybody, on the YFP website. Of course, www.youngfastenerprofessionals.com. What's going on over at Blue Chip, Kenny?
Oh, we're doing good. We're expanding, starting to get into some other stuff that we usually wasn't our thing, but it's the way the market's going, so we're trying to explore some new options here.
Yeah, I'm looking at your website here, and looks like you're getting into cable ties. There's a story about the FDA approval. I mean, that's something that I normally don't expect to see on a fastener distributor website, but there it is. That's going to be a good business for you figure? Food grade?
Yeah, we have a pretty good supplier of the cable ties, and we been getting into more, like you were mentioning the FDA before, these approved cable ties that are approved for Food and Drug Administration, where they can use them in food applications and other sort of things like that.
So these specially approved cable ties, I mean, does the manufacturer go through that approval process, or do you have to go through it?
The manufacturer goes through the approval process.
Okay.
Yeah, they're certified with them, and we just have to advertise that they're certified.
I mean, it's sort of a special world, isn't it? Because it's like cutlery in restaurants. It all has to be special, has to have a special stamp on it that indicates it's a special type of stainless even.
Yeah, correct.
Well, Kenny, let's back up and just give us a thumbnail about Blue Chip. What are you guys all about?
We usually get into specialty prints. That's our niche right there is, to print parts. We're good at taking a print, taking it out, getting a good price on it. We're getting more back into, a lot of standard business recently, which is going good for us. It's obviously it's an easy, good market. It's always a constant market to be in. We're about, I guess we're 60% automotive right now. We're trying to get that down a little. Automotive's always there, but it fluxes here and there as time goes. That's one of our big things for getting into trying to expand the markets, agricultural and medical and other different markets that we haven't really touched base in.
So agriculture would be a little bit different for you then, wouldn't it? Because if you're into specials, then there's very little in agriculture that's straight specials.
Yeah, there a lot of them are somewhat standard, but they require certifications to say, these can meet this standard, meet this, meet this. So it's mostly standard, but we have to get them certified through different processes.
Yep.
Well, that's good stuff. And for folks who want to find out more about Blue Chip Engineered Products, you can get out to their website. That's bcepi.com. We'll have to talk a little bit about that domain name, Kenny. I think your dad might have created that one without your consultation, but that's why the YFP is vital to the future of the fastener industry, isn't it?
Right. Yeah, right.
And next time we have you on, I think we're going to talk a little fishing, because we're going to hook up with you guys down in, I think it's a lake in Kentucky somewhere, coming later this spring, and see what we can do to tear up your southern stripers.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of tearing up to do down there.
We could burn up the rest of the show on that subject, as you know.
Oh, yeah. That'd be easy.
Well, Kenny Sanker with Blue Chip Engineered Products and the Young Fastener Professionals, we appreciate you jumping in with us. I know we put you on the spot a little bit, but you did a good job, and we do appreciate it, and we'll catch you soon.
All right, that's all right. Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
That's our pleasure.
And we'll be right back with more Fully Threaded Radio.
Once you're in this industry, you're not getting out. Good thing there's Fully Threaded Radio. Talk radio for the fastener industry.
First, there was fire, and man said, "Fire good." Then there was the wheel, and man said, "Wheel good." With the invention of the wheel came the need for fasteners, and man loudly exclaimed, "Buckeye good." Buckeye Fasteners, providing quality products since the dawn of man. The preceding message was brought to you by Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company, proud fastener show sponsors of Old Rusty Bolt Beer, official beer of the Traveling Salesman. Tell them Grog sent you. Ugh.
When top quality and outstanding service are at the top of your list in fastener suppliers, turn to Stellfast. Since 1976, Stellfast has grown to become an industry-leading importer and manufacturer of the highest quality industrial fasteners, specialty items, and automotive parts. Our array of facilities across North America and in Asia, along with full quality control labs and ISO 9001-2008 certifications, ensure the highest quality parts, and at Stellfast, they're delivered with undisputed service excellence. We're family-run and dedicated to your success. Our customers have come to depend on the expertise of our staff and the quality of our products. We also offer a wide range of secondary services to meet some of the toughest requirements you might have. Contact Stellfast today through our website at www.stellfast.com and put us to work for you. Stellfast. Service you deserve, people you trust.
Searching for a quality supplier of cold form parts in the new year? Then you should give my friends at 3Q a call. Hi everyone, it's Brian Musker. And if you're a distributor handling shoulder bolts, double end studs, weld studs, knurled bolts, or other cold form threaded fasteners, then the people at 3Q will provide you the highest quality products with an outstanding customer service. Also specialising in Sems washers, double coil lock washers, sheet metal screws and other specials, 3Q has been building its reputation as a specialty fastener distributor since 2008. Check 3Q online, then give them a call today. www.3q-inc.com. That's the number 3, letter Q-inc.com. 3Q, quality service for quality customers.
This is Dick Ripley from Lindstrom, and you're listening to Fully Threaded Radio, the voice of the fastener industry.
Hey, Brian, I'd like to give a shout out to everybody over there at Brainerd Rivet. A group from the NCFA was invited out there. That's in Girard, Ohio, by the way, folks. Brainerd Rivet Company did a first-class job of receiving us. It wasn't a huge group, but they pulled out all the stops, and we did a plant tour, and I'd like to thank everybody over there.
Did you ask them if hydrogen embrittlement a serious problem with rivets? Yeah, usually you work that into the conversation somewhere or other.
As a guest, I think we were all on our best behavior.
Oh, okay.
But, I kept my eyes open. It looked like a first-class operation, though, and as I said, the tour was wonderful. Thanks to Donnie Kirkwood over there and also Paul Kovac. Those gentlemen, among others, did a wonderful job. And, that's one of the great things about being part of associations like the NCFA. Others do it too, but the plant tours really facilitate a lot of learning in this industry. And it's also a great way to sample some of the generosity of these companies that we're involved with. So thanks to Brainerd Rivet.
Okay.
I heard one of the guys on the tour, I know he's got a background in heat treating. He said Brainerd has the best bins in the business.
Okay. What does it mean?
Well, the heat treaters, they have a special requirement for their bins. I mean, they have to go through a lot. Yeah. And so he was looking at all of them and saying, man, these things are just wonderful. And actually, Scott Felger was our tour guide. He's the quality guy. And he probably had something to do with that, but not something you'd hear from a general tour, I'm sure.
No, I think so. It's pretty specialized, that, okay?
One other observation I would make, Brainerd Rivet has actually been operating since 1916. They've been through a lot of changes over the years. The name changed, location, a lot of things, but funny how many of these fastener stories go back to a good stiff drink. When they started operating, one of their main customers was they made the rivets for the whiskey barrel bands, and that was a huge thing back then. So
presumably they got some of the whiskey to sample just to know, so they could make sure their rivets were really high enough quality to hold everything together. I mean, we would have made that a requirement, I would think.
Well, they didn't have ISO back in those days, but I'm sure the Brainerd Rivet guys were up for that QA challenge. They are fastener guys after all.
Yeah, in the end, right.
Everybody, the Fastener News Report's coming up in mere moments, this time sponsored by Volt Industrial Plastics and Fastenal. We sure do appreciate you joining in on the podcast, everybody, and we look forward to hearing from you. As always, the email address is ftr@fullythreaded.com. Please do not hesitate.
Yeah, all right.
Speaking of the NCFA, Bri.
Speaking of hesitating, or not hesitating, okay.
Don't hesitate, everybody, to make it out to this year's edition of the NCFA Distributor Social. It's happening May 18th. That'll be in Independence, Ohio, at the Crown Plaza Hotel. That's where it is every year.
Right. I think I might have been there a few times, actually.
Just a few.
Yep.
You could go out to the NCFA website, but it wouldn't tell you much more than I just did. And that has nothing to do with me being on the board.
Okay. Right.
I'm sure it'll get updated soon, and there'll be a great event beforehand. We usually have something to warm everybody up before the actual social begins, and there were a few ideas proffered, but I don't think anything's been locked in yet. It'll be good, though, folks. That's the NCFA Distributor Social, May 18th in Independence, Ohio. Be there.
Or be square.
You always say that.
I know. I don't know where it comes from.
Well, Bri, before we get to the Fastener News Report with Mike McNulty, there's one other thing that we probably should mention again. We covered this an episode or two back, I think, when we were talking about consuming crayfish down in New Orleans.
And hurricane drinks, I think.
Yes, sir. And that would be the Southeast Fastener Association and Southwest Fastener Association event coming up in April. This time here to discuss that with us is the SEFA president, Jerry Windham. Hey, Jerry, thanks for joining us for a second here to get everybody jazzed up for that.
Yeah, hello, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
All right.
You betcha. So give us the what, where, who, when, how, all that. What's going on with the SEFA event?
Well, I'd love to give you that information. We have an exciting event this year. We're going to be down in the great town of New Orleans, Louisiana, beginning on Wednesday, April the 19th. And the conference actually carries on through Friday, April the 21st. But this year we've actually moved it back to a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday instead of a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, just so people could come and join us and then have an opportunity to stay and enjoy New Orleans and Louisiana for the weekend. Our event begins on the Wednesday, the 19th at 6 o'clock with an opening reception for everybody that's there. And our reception always includes all the food and drink, and it includes some entertainment that is always a fun time. And then on Thursday, we actually spend most of the day at our golf tournament. This year it's going to be at one of the top courses in Louisiana. It's the English Turn Golf and Country Club, and it's going to be a great event there. But then we all come back together on that Thursday evening at 6 o'clock for a great dinner that Nancy, our chairperson, handles and does a great job with every year. And again, we'll have a reception time there, and there'll be drinks and food, and all of that is also included when you pay to come to the event. But we also spend that time at night raising a little money for the scholarship funds and talking a little bit about that. And then we do some silent auctions and some awards. So that really gets us into the conference time together formally. And then on Friday, April 21st is actually our big day. We start off with a continental breakfast. And after we have a brief business meeting, then we all come together and we have some panel discussions that are going to take place this year. We're focusing on things like marketing, selling, buying, what's important to your customers as fastener suppliers. What are they looking for? What are the things that are driving your business? We also have someone from the Federal Reserve that will come in and talk a little bit about the economy and just the state of things in the U.S. as they are right now. And after that morning session and our lunchtime, then we actually end the whole event with a 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock tabletop show, which is always a great event. And I think this year, with it being the Southeastern and Southwestern conferences, the show itself is going to be a great event, a great chance to network. I think the tabletop show this year is going to be absolutely incredible because it's going to give everybody to see a whole lot more opportunities than we normally have to just see what other companies are doing and what other products are out there and what's going on. And, of course, we're staying at the Holiday Astor Crown Plaza that's in no better location than at the corner of Canal Street and Bourbon Street. So you walk out the door, and it's absolutely a beautiful place, and you're right in the middle of everything when you walk out the door.
Yes, you are. Many people will know that hotel.
Yeah, that's where you want to be when you're in New Orleans. Now, you mentioned, of course, that you'll be teaming up with Southwest. The tabletop traditionally has been a biennial for the SEFA. How long have you been teaming up with Southwest?
Well, to my knowledge, and I've been involved on the board with SEFA, and of course this year as president, for the last 4 years, and I attended 4 to 5 events prior to that, so I'd say 10 years. And this is the first time that we've done anything jointly with any of the other associations. So I really can't speak on whether they've had this relationship before, but I know that Nancy talked with the folks out there as she kind of oversees a lot of the aspects of the different associations, and they decided to pull it together. So this is the first event, at least in the last 10 to 12 years, that has happened, and perhaps it's the first that I know of. So I'm very excited to have them coming in and join us.
Good. Well, it sounds like you're so busy, you hardly time to wander around looking for O'Brien's, I would think.
Well, there's going to be plenty of time to play, and
okay.
I do have to tell you that this group, that I don't know what it is, but for some reason this SEFA group has a compassion for karaoke. So when all is said and done, probably on both Thursday night and Friday night, and maybe even Wednesday night, I'm sure there'll be karaoke right down the side of Bourbon Street there, and a lot going on. There are some folks that aren't golfers. There's plenty of opportunities in New Orleans to tour and see all of the history. Of course, you've already mentioned incredible food, the beignet shops and the crawfish shops and the great seafood. So I think it's going to be a great time, a great event, a great chance to socialize and network, learn new things, and just meet old friends and hang out.
Well, it's going to be an exciting meeting. I think you've done a good job of whipping everybody up, and hopefully you have a great turnout. Again, that's happening April 19th through the 21st. Details are available on the SEFA website, which is thesefa.com. And Terry, thanks for swinging by to prep us for your big event with Southwest.
Well, I was just going to say I appreciate you guys giving us the airtime and the chance to be able to get this out and let people know what we're doing.
That's what we do here on Fully Threaded. And when we have folks like you join us right before the news, we always like to extend the invitation. How'd you like to bring in Mike McNulty?
I would absolutely love to bring in Mike. So now, for news about screws that you can use, here's Mike McNulty.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks, Eric and Brian. This is Mike McNulty from Fastener Technology International Magazine. bringing you the Fastener News Report, which is sponsored today by Volt Industrial Plastics, makers of the world's finest plastic fasteners. Temperatures here in Ohio are on the rise, and I now find my sporting eyes looking at basketball tournaments and baseball spring training games. But I am clearly pleased to be an American that is still focused on fasteners and ready to deliver today's Fastener News Report. In this episode, we're going to reveal the latest results of the Fastener Distributor Index, also known as the FDI. Also in today's broadcast, we have our top story on Ramco and Bolton, and newsmaker headlines from Fastenal, Mansco, Hodel Natco, Lindstrom, McLean Fogg, A. Raymond, KLX, and Brighton Best. On the back page report, we're going to talk about the 2017 Best Countries list. We will get to all of that and the latest FDI results right after this.
Whether you need a small or large number of fasteners, there is no reason why you should have to sacrifice quality or service for that matter. Volt Industrial Plastics takes great care with each and every order to ensure you receive a quality fastener in a timely and affordable manner. Our state-of-the-art production equipment allows us to produce any quantity you request quickly and efficiently. And with same-day shipping on nearly 1 million in-stock fasteners, we carry an inventory so you don't have to. Visit us online at voltplastics.com to find out more about our quality American-made products. Volt Industrial Plastics, manufacturer of the finest plastic fasteners in the world.
For a selection of hundreds of thousands of fasteners, check out your local Fastenal store or Fastenal.com. We can stock domestic or internationally sourced product locally and keep your bin stock filled for you at no additional expense. We are a 9001-2008 certified company that's made a huge investment in quality control so you don't have to. And if you can't find it on our shelf, we can make it for you at the quantity you need at one of our many manufacturing facilities. Learn more by contacting your local Fastenal store or visiting Fastenal.com today.
Did you know Mexico accounts for 34% of all trade in Latin America? Hi everybody, it's Lynn Dempsey, here to announce the meeting point for the Latin American fastener industry. It's Mack Brooks Fastener Fair Mexico, which takes place on June 20th and 21st, 2017 in Mexico City. Fastener Fair Mexico attracts manufacturers, distributors, suppliers, and end users from across Latin America's fastest-growing industries. With over 2,000 buyers, more than 200 exhibiting companies from around the world, and a highly informative distributor business development conference, this third edition of the show is set to be the biggest yet. As the leader in worldwide fastener exhibitions, Mack Brooks has pulled out all the stops to provide maximum value for any fastener distributor operating or considering doing business in Latin America. Don't miss Fastener Fair Mexico, June 20th and 21st in Mexico City. For booth space, details, and to register online, log on to www.fastenerfair.com/Mexico. That's fastenerfair.com/Mexico.
Back to the Fastener News Report with Mike McNulty.
In February, the FDI exploded up to a level of 57.0, a huge improvement over January's lackluster result of 49.9. Fastener Distributor Index data is collected and analyzed by the FCH Sourcing Network, the National Fastener Distributors Association, and Baird. The FDI seeks to identify demand, pricing, and outlook trends within the American fastener distribution industry. To get some insight on this positive result, we talked to Dave Manthey, the FDI analyst at Baird. Hi, Dave. Thanks for joining us on the Fastener News Report.
Hi, Mike. Good to be here as usual.
Yeah. So what do you think about this FDI hitting 57.0?
Well, the 57.0 is a great reading. It's up nicely from January's 49.9. And listening to last month's Fully Threaded Radio report, you had Worth Group EVP Mark Strandquist on, and I think some of the comments that you and he made were interesting. He made the comment that generally, by the responses of the survey, that we really haven't seen orders come through on a consistent basis. Mike, you indicated that it takes a while for the wheels to get in motion, but if you remember, the outlook then, as now, was very optimistic, and Mark had said that he hoped some of that optimism turned into real orders, and then we'd all be happy. I think the reading in February here of 57, the highest we've seen since late 2014, is a good sign and should make some people pretty happy at this point. And it's a nice change in trend as well from 2016, where we saw this sort of choppy sawtooth bouncing around 50 reading, which was very consistent with the results of the public distributors. But as we've entered 2017 here with this very solid uptick in the seasonally adjusted February FDI, in addition to, which I'll talk about in a bit, is the continued acceleration in our forward-looking index, which we've just implemented here, as well as the Fastenal February daily sales up 6.1%. I can't guarantee this is all 100% sustainable, but we'll keep our fingers crossed that things are looking up.
Yeah, it's definitely a definitive move in the positive direction. Now, you mentioned the forward-looking index that you've introduced recently. I think you call it the FLI, and that jumped as well. What did you see there?
Right. Just to recap on the new forward-looking index part of the FDI report, we're using the same data that's been collected over the past 5+ years, but we're just analyzing the numbers a little differently and creating this new index. This is a combination of really 4 factors. One is employment responses, which is a longer-term decision, longer than 3 or 6 months likely. Second, it's customer and respondent inventories, and we're actually using the inverse of what we use in the FDI. And the reason for that is if inventories are too low today, that implies that they'll need to be built up in coming months, which should be positive for demand. So both of those things positive. That's number 2 and 3. And then the fourth part of the index is respondents' own 6-month outlook for the overall industry. And when you put this all together, we come up with this forward-looking index, which is correlated with the FDI and has done a pretty good job directionally of leading market trends. The February seasonally adjusted reading was 61.0. And when we look back and analyze the data as though we'd been calculating that index from the beginning, it's increased every month since September of 2016. And as I mentioned, even though it's a new analysis, if we look retroactively through all of the data, 61.0 actually ties the all-time record high that's been calculated since 2012. So I think it's a fairly good sign, in addition to the reported FDI, which is the actual sort of what is happening today. These two things in combination create some optimism today.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is the second straight month we've had on the 6-month outlook. If you take the people who expect better or same, we're at 97%. So that's almost a clean sweep.
Almost unanimous.
And also, I saw that the results when we were talking before we got on the air here that you had some interesting comments from participants this time around.
Right. So the commentary on the current market conditions have continually struck an increasingly more optimistic tone. And as you mentioned, Mike, that 97% of people that are expecting demand activity to be stable or better over the next 6 months, that level of optimism. There's some interesting changes in people's responses and what they're actually telling us about their markets that I think the listeners will be interested in hearing. So we're still hearing the commentary. One person said that things are looking more positive, and there's some beginning rumblings of some inflation trickling through, things like price increases coming through due to steel. One respondent said their January and February of 2017 were both up versus the corresponding months a year ago, meaning they're seeing growth already this year in 2017. And one respondent saying he's extremely busy. But one comment that we heard that I think really sort of ties all of this up and summarizes a little bit of these trends that we're starting to see here is the response was, we're starting to see optimism turn into orders. And when I tie that back to what Mark had been hoping for last month, it seems like that might be starting to materialize based on that response. In addition to the responses that we got through the survey, I thought it'd be interesting for you to hear that last week I spent a couple of days with your old friend and mine, Holden Lewis, who's now the CFO at Fastenal. Oh. And I would tell you that his tone is more optimistic as well. He cited the recent strong ISM PMI readings, and then looking at Fastenal's own results, their October and their January results were good and fairly encouraging. And so I think it's interesting that we're starting to see these things materialize into real numbers at the public companies. not just optimism, but a little uptick. Again, it's hard to say that it's going to extend into the future with great certainty, but as we sit here today, I would say things are getting a little bit better, and you'll be happy to know Holden is doing just fine up there at Fastenal.
Well, that's good to hear that he's doing well there, and it's good to hear his take is added into your report. Also, one other thing that we touched on earlier was you had mentioned employment, and what are you seeing on the employment data points?
Well, the outlook here is improving nicely as well, and as I mentioned, we've incorporated some of this data into the forward-looking index as well, but if you look at employment separately and just think about what that data is telling us today, 29% of respondents in February indicated that hiring had picked up. When you look back through the data all the way back to January 2012, that is tied for the highest reading ever, 29%. And you look at the jobs report, there was a modest gain in manufacturing employment. I think it was 5,000 jobs or something. But I think just based on what we're hearing from respondents, the fact that optimism now, again, we're talking about translating it from just being optimistic to things actually happening. And I think in addition to sales possibly getting a little bit better, seeing people actually going out and hiring people and putting people to work within the fastener industry is also an indication that it's starting to translate into real dollars in the bottom line.
Yeah, you definitely, when you actually start putting people on payroll, that's a serious move. So that's good to hear. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's close with what are you hearing on the public company results out there?
Well, as it relates to the public company results, Fastenal reported their February daily sales growth of plus 6.1. That was versus our expectation of plus 5.4. And as I mentioned when I spoke to Holden, when you look at Fastenal's data, typically their January average daily sales will be equivalent to the daily sales rate of the prior year's October. We haven't seen that for a number of years at Fastenal. I think it's going back to 2010, but it happened this year. So if you look at that October to January trend, pretty positive. The 6.1 is better than seasonal norms for the company and certainly better, a little bit better than our expectation and our estimate. So that's definitely positive. We should continue to see gradual improvement among the public distributors, which is in our models at this point. We even have Fastenal potentially reaching a double-digit growth rate if things continue to track like this over the course of 2017 and into 2018. And just one bit of news as it relates to Grainger. Grainger has stopped providing monthly updates, and instead they'll just retrospectively provide the monthly data trends when they report each quarter, like MSC Industrial has been doing for a number of years. So that's what we're hearing from the public company distributors, and I think it just gives more emphasis to what we're doing here with the FDI. I think it adds importance to this data point because there's fewer data points out there.
Right, and we're, as listeners know, we're staying on a monthly reporting basis with the FDI, so another good reason to listen.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, that's good. This is probably the most upbeat report that I can recall us doing on the FDI, so I'm glad that we're able to have things so positive. And you mentioned earlier, last year we had a lot of that up and down stuff, so hopefully we just stay up for a while here.
Yeah, I really think that March will tell us a lot about the trends that we're going to see here, with the caveat that the public company data will be a little unusual given that Good Friday fell in March a year ago, and it's in April this year, so they have a little bit of a tailwind. The numbers that you could see out of Fastenal, for example, might be skewed to the upside, but we'll try to sort that out. And like you said, Mike, I just hope some of the data that we're seeing here, if this level of the FDI, anything in this ballpark is sustainable, it certainly would bode well for industry trends as we move our way through 2017.
Very good. Well, thanks for the work that you do, and thanks for the good reports, and keep them coming.
All right. Thank you. We'll talk again soon.
That was Dave Manthey, the FDI analyst at Baird. The FDI number for February was 57.0. To participate in the process, visit www.fdisurvey.com. Now for today's top story. Sweden's Bolton AB, one of the largest international suppliers of automotive fasteners, and North American fastener supplier Ramco Specialties have signed an agreement to form a 50-50 joint venture for distributing fasteners to the North American automotive industry. At the same time, Bolton is setting up a subsidiary for manufacturing externally threaded fasteners for the same market. The joint venture will operate under the name Rambull LLC, headquartered inside Ramco's new corporate headquarters in Hudson, Ohio. Rambull will offer sales and distribution of Bolton's FSP automotive fasteners. The new production subsidiary, called Bolton North America LLC, will be set up in the same building, and it will produce externally threaded fasteners for North America. Bolton's total investment is projected at $9 million, distributed over 4 years starting in 2017, and the annual sales increase is expected to be in the range of $30 to $40 million by 2020. Bolton's manufacturing expertise is in externally threaded fasteners, which couples nicely with Ramco's manufacturing expertise in internally threaded fasteners. Next up, today's Fastener Newsmaker headlines. In acquisitions and expansion news, Fastenal Company has signed an agreement to acquire certain assets of industrial and fastener supply distributor Manufacturer Supply Company, also known as Mansco, which has operations in Michigan, Alabama, and Texas. Hodel Natco has divested its small package fastener business unit to the Lindstrom Fastener Group while keeping its current line of structural and galvanized fasteners. McLean Fogg has divested its Presswork Crefeld division to private equity firm Hanover Finance and local management, allowing the company to heighten its focus on fastener components, and engineered plastics. Hague Fasteners in the UK is expanding and moving its operations into a new custom retrofitted fastener manufacturing facility. And the A. Raymond Network is expanding with new fastening and assembly plants in Casablanca, Morocco, and San Luis Potosi, Mexico. In personnel news, Sussex Wire Incorporated announces the appointment of Nick Piergiovanni to the role of Business Development Manager. Brandon McVaugh has been named to the newly created position Director of Operations at Laboratory Testing Incorporated. And Christine Lekowitz has been appointed to the position of Education Coordinator at Brighton Best International. You can get details on all of these stories and more in Fastener Technology International magazine and its companion publication, the Fastener News Report newsletter, now available in a flipbook edition. Finally, let's turn to the back page to talk about the 2017 Best Countries list. U.S. News and World Report has released its 2017 Best Countries Report and ranking, and the top 10 are as follows. Number 1, Switzerland. Number 2, Canada. 3, the United Kingdom. 4, Germany. 5, Japan. 6, Sweden. 7, the United States. 8, Australia. 9, France. And 10, Norway. The 2017 Best Country rankings are based on how global perceptions define countries in terms of qualitative characteristics and impressions that have the potential to drive trade, travel, and investment. 80 nations were measured in the report, and 21,000 people from across the globe were surveyed on 65 different country attributes. The scores were normalized, and the attributes were grouped into 9 sub-rankings called adventure, citizenship, cultural influence, entrepreneurship, heritage, movers, open for business, power, and quality of life. The sub-ranking weights were then correlated to 2014 GDP purchasing power per capita, and some complicated calculations were made to arrive at the country's final ranking. The methodology was developed by a consulting firm, an Ivy League college, and the ranking experts at U.S. News and World Report, the same group that introduced the familiar and idiotic college rankings in the 1980s. Lists like these are somewhat interesting and annoying at the same time. I could have saved U.S. News and World Report some money and time because it is obvious to me that the USA is hands down the best country in the world this year and every year. Seriously, Sweden and Switzerland are smaller than Ohio. Japan sells more diapers for its retirees than for babies. Germany is getting choked by the European Union albatross that the UK is trying to flee from, while Canada is very nice but totally connected and similar to the USA. We may have our internal fights and problems, but as the popular song goes, I am proud to be an American, and God bless the USA. This has been Mike McNulty of Fastener Technology International bringing you the Fastener News Report. Please send your news, pictures, comments, corrections, or complaints to me at mcnulty@fastenertech.com.
feature segment is up next, and it's going to be kind of a big deal. Jim Kelam of Sems and Specials joins the show right after these messages. Righto? I said that especially for JR Pro.
ND Industries has been solving customers' toughest problems through innovative technologies, competitive pricing, and industry-leading service since 1955. A family-owned business, ND Industries manufactures and applies fastener locking, bonding, sealing, masking, and assembling products. Their pre-application process makes fasteners ready to use at the point of assembly, resulting in reduced labor costs, time savings, and superior quality assurance. As a fully integrated company, ND handles all aspects of operations, from formulating custom chemical compounds and coating fasteners to providing inline inspection, packaging, and delivery services. ND Industries serves the global market with 13 divisions in the continental U.S. and also facilities in Taiwan, China, and Turkey. Learn more about ND Industries at our website at www.ndindustries.com. ND Industries, innovative technologies, competitive pricing, and industry-leading service. Contact ND today.
Searching for a quality supplier of cold form parts in the new year? Then you should give my friends at 3Q a call. Hi everyone, it's Brian Musker. And if you're a distributor handling shoulder bolts, double end studs, weld studs, knurled bolts, or other cold form threaded fasteners, then the people at 3Q will provide you the highest quality products with an outstanding customer service. Also specialising in Sems washers, double coil lock washers, sheet metal screws and other specials, 3Q has been building its reputation as a specialty fastener distributor since 2008. Check 3Q online, then give them a call today. www.3q-inc.com. That's the number 3, letter Q-inc.com. 3Q, quality service for quality customers.
Since 1905, Buckeye Fasteners and the Ohio Nut and Bolt Company have been supplying the world with high-quality fasteners. Our standard product lines include weld fasteners, braided weld screws, leg levelers, self-clinching hardware, clevis pins, rivet nuts, and various other fastener lines, allowing us to support virtually all types of industries. We have complete custom manufacturing capabilities in low carbon, medium carbon, and stainless steel materials, and our quality systems are registered to ISO standards. Our on-staff engineering department can assist you with product development and provide total technical support. Our knowledgeable sales team members offer superior customer service and are here to answer any questions you may have regarding our products. Having a hard time finding a part? Let our sourcing specialists do the work for you to locate those items. We offer competitive pricing with typically smaller minimums and shorter lead times. To find out more about Buckeye Fasteners, please call us at 800-437-1689 or on the web at buckeyefasteners.com. Buckeye Fasteners, more than just weld.
Well, hey everybody, this is Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute, coming to you from the Fastener Training Institute and the Carver Fact Center here in beautiful San Diego, California. Just recently, I received an email request from a client who had a confusing issue regarding proper description for metric hex cap screws when they are fully threaded or not fully threaded. And when we return, I'm going to give you a few pointers on how to properly describe that fastener and which ISO specifications cover them.
Thanks, Carmen. This is Joe Morris with the Fastener Training Institute. Welcome to the third month of the year, March. Quite possibly the best month for basketball, but potentially the worst for productivity. Don't spend the entire second half of March idle looking at brackets. Join us at the Fastener Training Institute instead. We have some great classes coming up for all levels of students, and trust me, spending time with the Fastener Training Institute will benefit your organization. On March 24th, join us as Carmen Vertullo presents the webinar, Measuring Fastener Dimensional Features Other Than Threads. You might think that threads are the only fastener features that require special gauging to inspect. Well, you would be wrong. In this webinar, we will demonstrate the standard and special gauges used to measure those other fastener features. Then, April 3rd, we are heading to Cleveland, Ohio, to the IFI Training Center for Fastener Training Week. This class is filling up quick. You can still register, and I hope you do, because we're going to spend a full week learning about manufacturing processes, consensus standards, quality control, and much more. From the words of Joe Greenslade, there is no better investment a manager can make in their business than providing good training to their staff. Then later in April, we will host 2 brand new advanced classes, Understanding Hydrogen Embrittlement and Automotive Fastener Technology. Both classes will incorporate case-based studies where students will work in teams to solve open-ended problems related to fasteners. The classes are very hands-on and designed to challenge students to use core knowledge to pass and advance. These 2 classes will be taught in Michigan during the same week, April 24th through the 28th, and discounts are offered to those of you who would like to enroll in both. For more details and a complete listing of all of our classes, please visit our website at www.fastenertraining.com or email me at jom@fastenertraining.com. Now, back to Carmen.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Carmen Vertullo with the Fastener Training Minute. Today we're talking about metric hex cap screws and fully threaded ones versus not fully threaded ones. There are 2 specifications which are very similar that cover these fasteners dimensionally, and it does not really matter what the material is, property class-wise. It could be 8.8, 10.9, 12.9, whatever, it does not matter. The dimensional standards, though, are ISO 4014 if the product is not fully threaded, and ISO 4017 if the product is fully threaded. So ISO 4017 products will always be fully threaded. ISO 4014, however, will be fully threaded only if they're short. For example, an M10 by 30, and that was the product in question, is relatively short, and it would be fully threaded regardless of whether the specification was 4014 or 4017. As a matter of fact, it's at about 35 millimeters where an M10 becomes no longer fully threaded, 35 to 40 millimeters, somewhere around there. And ISO 4014, if you look at the chart, there's a table that describes this in ISO 4014. It's table 1, and it has a thick black line that sort of looks like a staircase. And above that line at the top of the chart, we see the diameters, and down the left side, we see the lengths. And we can come across and see exactly where the length of the product determines it will no longer be fully threaded. And they recommend that if you're going to choose a product that is not fully threaded from ISO 4014, that you specify 4017 instead. They're exactly the same product, except the specification callout would be different. They're fully threaded when they're short. As they get longer, they no longer become fully threaded, and then it's a 4014 product. Now, my client had an issue because the product was called out as partially threaded, as 4014 is a specification for non-fully threaded product. However, it was so short that it was fully threaded. Now, I know that sounds a little bit confusing, but if you have both of those specifications available, you should take them out, look them up, look at table 1, and you'll understand how to know when a ISO 4014 product is fully threaded and when it's not. This has been Carmen Vertullo with your Fastener Training Minute, talking to you about metric hex cap screw thread length. Thanks for listening.
This is Aaron Shushan from Specialty Sales, and you are listening to Fully Threaded Radio.
Over the years, I have to say it, my favorite part of putting the podcast together is talking to many of the people who make such an impact on the fastener industry. During this segment, we're going to do just that. And lo and behold, making it even more of a big deal this time, I got a Skype in from friend of the podcast. Everybody knows her. She's Jackie Ventura. Hey, Jackie, thanks. You're going to sit in with me on this one.
I am, and I'm glad to be here. I was pretty excited when you told me one of my closest friends in the industry was going to be joining you. That would be Mr. Jim Kelam of Sems and Specials. I am so happy to be chatting with him again. I don't know whether you're aware or not, but I have a pretty close relationship with those guys at Sems and Specials. They were one of the very first companies that I started repping back in the 90s. Hate to admit how old I am, but...
Well, you were very, very young at the time.
Yeah, right. I was in kindergarten. But yeah, Jim was my first line of my agency when I started, and he had the confidence and he believed in me, and they're just a great company. They're a very good company to work for and to buy from. My customers, I couldn't even believe the level of service that they offer. And for those of you who don't know, Sems is a manufacturer of Sems assemblies, small screws with washer assembled to them. Jim can elaborate on that a little bit if he wants to, on the size range and all of that. But I do recall one instance that his partner, Bruce Hayes, came in on a Saturday and actually ran parts for my customer to avoid a shutdown situation. So if you're looking for a company that goes above and beyond and has the best service in the industry, they're definitely the guys to call. So I'm excited to be here and chat with him.
Well, it's good to have you. And, it's pretty obvious when you see these guys operating anywhere. Well, I usually run into them, of course, at the Vegas show. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But they have a very, very large customer base and a lot of happy people. Hey, why don't we get Jim in on this conversation? He's probably starting to feel a little self-conscious. Jim Kelam, thanks for joining us on the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, Eric and Jackie. That was very beautiful. That's all I could say. Do you need a job? Because that was beautiful.
Well, we've talked about that too, but
just remember when you said you go back to the 90s, you're still a spring chicken.
Well,
I think we hired you. I mean, I know you were working for Robert at the time, but basically, you were right out of high school, weren't you, when you went to work for Mr. Briggs, weren't you?
Yeah, that was back in the 80s. I didn't start my agency and individually repping for you until the 90s.
No, but yeah, I do believe we were your first line because I had all the confidence in the world in you. And look, you're still doing it. So you're still succeeding, I guess. So that's beautiful. So
yeah, well, you believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, and I appreciate that. And you guys, look what you've done with your company. It's a great organization.
Well, thank you for the compliments. We work very hard at trying to service our customer base, and basically, some days it's better than others, and some days it's very frustrating again, So I myself, I've been doing this for 45 years now, and I'm still trying to figure out, I joke and say, trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up, but one day I'll figure it out, I hope, so. But.
Well, you've got a great perspective on the industry, that's for sure. I don't think we mentioned you're based in Rockford, Illinois, which, of course, is right in the center of the country, center of the industry. A lot of things always going on with fasteners. How do you characterize the industry right now? I mean, what's going on in your perspective?
Well, from our perspective right now, it's picking up quite a bit, okay? I don't think, we sell pretty much 98% distribution, okay? So that's always been our customer base. But basically, a lot of the people at the big companies, as we call them, the big seven, the planning isn't the greatest, okay? So one of our niches has always been kind of, Jackie mentioned it earlier, where my partner had run parts over a weekend for her customer to keep from shutting down the line. That's still one of our big niches for the most part. If you need something quickly, we could do it for you. You may pay for it because of break-in charges through the secondary operations and stuff. But overall, that's still a big part of our business, Eric. If you got a line down, we could try to help you if at all possible. Okay, but the business on the whole is picking up. I think last year with the election, I think with our new president, everybody was a little bit unsure and reserved about ordering parts for inventory. And since January, the numbers have been quite good for the most part. So 16 wasn't the greatest year for us, but I don't think it was for most, of my competitors either. We had our little blips here and there, but overall, I'm looking forward to 17. So, I think on the whole, it's going to be a good year. I really do. I don't have a crystal ball, Eric, but I think 17 is going to be good, and a good part of 18 is what I keep hearing. So I hope to goodness it comes true. I really do. So
yeah, I've been seeing things pick up as well, and gosh, it seems like we're losing more and more manufacturers these days, and if you want to have a domestic guy, it's becoming harder to find. I was very shocked to see that news about Rockford Products up there.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big auction. Had people from all over the country coming in here, and it's sad. I mean, this is the way of the world somewhat, Eric and I had spoken a little bit, a month or so ago about losing product to offshore. And again, I'm still selling some of the same customers I sold 40 years ago. And I learned a lot of things about loyalty from these customers. And now I was out making, Christmas calls, and I sat down with about 40 items, and I said, I don't want any baloney. I want to know if it's mine or you took it offshore. And basically at least 50% of my items were gone to offshore. And to me, that's very disheartening.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's just it's a sad situation, but I realize this is the way of the world. And, it's all about the almighty dollar. It's not about that I was at every graduation, every confirmation, every year, one of your kids' birthday parties, but we could talk about the millennials, but it's all about the almighty dollar, and we're all in business to make money, but there's got to be some loyalty still.
Well, hang on a sec, Jim. I want to set this up a little bit better, just to be 100% clear. As you know, last episode we had Harry Mosier on. He's with the Reshoring Initiative, and he's talking more generally, not just about fasteners, or actually not at all specifically about fasteners. He's talking manufacturing in general. And, of course, he's working real hard to reverse the trend that you're describing. But he certainly isn't telling us, or he's not leading us to believe that there's still a major trend like you're saying. So when you and I were talking on the phone a couple days back to set up this conversation, you were recounting a little bit about what you were just saying. So just to be clear, you were seeing some business slacking off. You went out to find out why, and as of very recently, several of your customers are still taking parts offshore, not seeing a benefit to keeping them here, is what you're saying.
No. According to pretty much every distributor that we do speak to, Eric, I know they're getting beat up. You take one package, let's say a John Deere package goes from, one guy to the next guy after 3 years, and they each try to do it. Okay, but here again, the OEM will take a package to their incumbent and say, I'm going to resource this. Here's the package. Quote me the best numbers. Inevitably, in my mind, they get new numbers a little bit cheaper, okay, go back to the incumbent and beat him up, and basically he retains the package for maybe another year. And this is what goes on, okay? And in the meantime, from the domestic point of view, it just seems like they come to us to fill in the gap. We are what they call the true gap supplier, and, we'll have our time, but basically it's frustrating to me. I mean, after 45 years in doing this, Eric, I'm old school, and I'm all about, relationship building and just, having a friend in a person, and sometimes it's disheartening to see that go away pretty much so, but more and more people are getting beat up by their OEMs for 3, and 3, 3% this year, 3% next year, or whatever the number may be, but it's sad, I mean, we need to keep the product here in the good old US of A, I think, but I'm a domestic manufacturer, so I don't know. I mean, what's your other principals saying, Jackie? They're in the same boat, aren't they?
Yeah, it's pretty much a tough situation out there. It's like you said, the distributors are being forced to try and get better pricing every year from these big guys that are driving the pricing in the packages, and they have no choice. Even if they wanted to stay here, they have to entertain an offshore quote and say, hey, here's your import price, and here's your domestic price, and it's significant. Now, maybe with the things changing in D.C., we'll start seeing some stuff coming back a little bit more, and who knows how that'll affect the industry. But I'm seeing the same thing. It's especially on a standard commodity product. I don't know that stuff is ever going to come back here, but more and more the specials are moving over there as well.
Well, that's the key, because you mentioned earlier when you were talking, Jackie, and I appreciate you being that way, but When we opened the company 27 years ago, it should have been Sems and Specs, because 90% of what we did were standard Sems commodities. And as we've evolved through the years, it's Sems and Specials. And Sems we still do probably, it varies from month to month, but maybe 50-40 or, 60-40, whatever it may be. But specials are a big part of our everyday, setups and everything. But offshore, they'll quote 5,000 pieces now. How the hell do you go compete with, a Taiwanese company quoting 5,000 pieces at a third of what you're quoting? You can't do it, But again, our customer base is getting beat up from their customer base. So I guess it always rolls downhill, as they say. But I don't know. We do okay. Am I disappointed? Yeah, some days, Eric, more than others. But overall, it's a good industry. Again, 45 years for me. And basically, starting next week, I start working part-time. So I'm starting to really enjoy the thought of what's coming my way. So.
Yeah, I wanted to get into that a little bit, and we will in just a moment. Before we leave the reshoring topic, though, I wanted to say, nobody's holding their breath for grade 2 machine screws to come back, but these specials, they really do hurt. And getting back to Harry Mosier and his efforts, I'm not saying that he's not speaking the truth either. What I'm saying is that in our industry, there are certainly some circumstances that are offsetting a lot of the trends that he's seeing. So we'll keep our eyes on it, and we'll keep hoping for the best.
That's all we could do, Eric. I mean, I just landed a nice package of parts from one of my customers, and there were some standard type product in there. I mean, a little bit special, with a special length increment, but slotted hex head machine screws. I got a nice portion of stuff like that in this other package of specials and everything. But yeah, I was shocked to even, acquire this business. But I gave a nice shot. I was competitive, and I won a nice chunk of business. So there still are opportunities, but they're few and far between. So again, many a day it's frustrating, but this is the world we live in. Whether it's the fastener industry or any other type industry, I think we're all faced with the same situation.
Right. Well, those opportunities, when they're out there, you're a guy who's definitely going to turn them because you've been doing it for a while and you know how to do it. So we were talking last June it was, and we were at the MWFA tabletop show, cooling our heels out on the curb, and you got into, I think you were in kind of a philosophical mood that day, Jim. And you were really wrestling with this big issue of what to do with the business and your career and all. Been at it so long, and really, I think the idea of just pulling out and retiring altogether was a little daunting. But that isn't what you decided to do, is it?
No, originally, Eric, I thought I could just say goodbye, to my partner and to our 92 employees and everything we've created, but it's like having a baby. I came in after the business was open for 9 months, and Bruce couldn't make them and sell them and do that, but there were 4 people here when I bought into the business. And I moved from the south side of Chicago, and the first year I think we did $900,000, and it was like, wow, that was nice. And then we just grew year after year after year, and I really love what I do 80% of the time. I'm an old school guy. I love the relationships. I love the banter that goes back and forth for the most part, okay? But, you work your butt off all your life, in your 20s, your 30s, you start being a little successful. Your 40s, your 50s. I bought in at age 40. I told Bruce I'd give him 15 years. Well, 55 came way too quick. I said, I'll give you the 62. That came even quicker. And then I said, all right, 65. And it was like I blinked my eyes and we were there already. And now I'm 66 years old. So back in 14, I got real serious and I said, I think I want to retire. And he said, well, it's all in, there's no going back. So we worked it out where I'm going to work 3 days a week starting next week, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. They tentatively, if I have to work on Monday or Friday or whatever it takes, I'm just that kind of guy. I can't be home with my wife, nor does she want me home. And we're blessed to be married for 45 years also, okay? But I think it just goes with the territory. But I hope I can handle this. I really do. It's really scary. And I've talked to a lot of people through the years, and it's a scary thing. You know, when you've been doing, you're up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30, you're at work at 6 o'clock, you don't get home to 6 o'clock. That's all that's in your blood for 45 years. How do you shut it off? And I thought, if I quit and just retired, it's like jumping off a diving board. Once you jump, there's no going back. So I'm blessed that we worked this out. I hope it does work for myself and the company. And I said, if it doesn't, you know, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, going cold turkey into retirement would not work well for a guy like you. I could tell you that. I think you're making a pretty good decision. Well, just out of curiosity, and I think a few people know the answer to this, but for those that don't, when you're not doing Sems work, what are you working on? Or what are you doing? How do you occupy yourself?
Basically, you know, I golf a lot. I love the game of golf. You know, I ride my Harley. You know, I'm on my third Harley. I'm thinking about buying another one. So that's my stress reliever for the most part, Eric. You know, I just get on that bike and let the wind blow in your face and just enjoy the scenery. Go out in the country and just ride around, and it's very nice. You know, you stop for a nice beverage every now and then, a little bite to eat, and get on the bike and ride a little bit some more, you know. So, and again, I'm blessed to have 5 good grandchildren, so trying to spend a little bit more time with them, too, at their sporting events and what have you. You know, I mean, life is going by too quick. I mean, look at February or March is knocking on our door. How the hell did that happen already? You know, it's scary, you know. I mean, how old's your son now, Jackie?
Well, he's 13, believe it or not.
Yeah, and I can remember when you first had him. You know?
Me too. It was like it was yesterday, and you're right. It seems like the older you get, the quicker time goes by, and I'm certainly glad that you decided to stay in the industry part-time and kind of phase yourself out, because I think it would be a shock to everybody in the industry for us to never see Big Papa again.
Well, you know what? I appreciate that. And again, in 45 years, being an old school guy, I love the eye contact. You know, a frustrating thing, and Eric and I were talking, I think last week, Eric, when we talked about some of the millennials. And this is a big subject with a lot of old timers like us. But, yeah, it frustrates the living hell out of me to the point where I'll quote something and I'll pick up the phone and I'll call and I'll call and I'll call. And yes, I do send emails. I am technical for the most part, but I'm all about verbiage and eye contact. And it just frustrates the hell out of me that these people won't pick up the phone and develop a relationship with the supplier.
They're all about social media and doing things the electronic way. And, you know, truthfully, when you think about this reshoring stuff, it makes you wonder who's going to be running all these machines that need to produce the parts, you know. And I don't know, it's an interesting society that we live in. And, you know, I'm like I said, I'm grateful that you're doing it slowly.
I appreciate that. But let me ask you a question. How do you handle it when you go to make your sales calls? You set up appointments and you get turned down, but they're too busy or what have you. Or to sit in front of a group of young people, and I'm not picking on the young people. We all had to grow into the business, okay? But it just seems like some of the younger people now, they don't want the personal touch. So you being a manufacturer's rep, Jackie, is it frustrating to you?
Oh, it's very difficult. I think the biggest challenge that I face is education. And, you know, a lot of the associations are trying to refocus, I think, on educating the young people. And, you know, there's that young fastener professional group now that's doing the same, which is ideal because it seems like a lot of the younger kids, not all of them, but a lot of them, they're spreadsheet buyers. You know, they see a part number, they see a description, they don't understand what the part is. Which, like you said, we all had to grow into the business. But I think the difference between our era and theirs is we wanted to learn the product. We wanted to know what it was. We wanted to know the application of it and learn and grow. And it's difficult when you get an appointment and you're sitting there with somebody that doesn't understand not only what they're buying, but where it's actually being used.
But do they open their minds to you to try to educate them?
Some do, yes, and some no. You know, I mean, I think it's, you know, it depends on what their, you know, future holds, whether this is just a stepping job or if this is something that they decided they wanted to commit to. And the ones that are committed, absolutely, you know, they'll sit there and ask questions and be very inquisitive and inquire about things. But if it's, you know, person that's just like, well, this is a job until I move up the ladder into something else, then, you know, those are the guys that aren't too receptive.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You know, and again, it does frustrate me a little bit, but it's always been a challenge for me to try to win one of these, I call them young bulls over, okay? And I go out of my way whether it's, eye-to-eye contact, and just kind of break them a little bit, and even the younger people in here, they used to sit outside my office and, they hear me just, from the minute I get in, I'm on the phone talking to people, and it's like, how the heck do you do it, And I said, that's what a relationship is all about. We didn't, get this business just by sending emails back and forth. Yeah, you get a little bit, but it's all about the team building and the customer relation building and whatever. And I'm always been a firm believer of that, and I wish more people were. There's a lot of people in the industry that are just like us, but the newer breed coming in, it's almost like they don't want to take the time, like you said, to learn. And that's sad to me. It really is, because this industry has been good to many of us. I mean, still active, and people retired, people in fastener heaven. We've all made a good living out of this, and I hope it continues. I really do. So,
fastener heaven, I like that, Jim, although I'm not wishing any of us to be there soon.
Not for a long time, Eric. Not for a long time, man. I hope so.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks, we've got at least several young fastener professionals, the YFPers, that are tuned into this particular episode. We had Kenny Sanker on earlier, and hopefully a bunch of them have held on through this segment. So I think your words will be hitting the right ears, and you guys out there listening, listen up real hard, and maybe even rewind and listen to what Jim and Jackie are talking about, because probably it's going to require a mix of what you're bringing and what they're offering to really succeed moving ahead in this industry. Just my thoughts as I was listening to you make your comments. Another comment you made a moment ago, Jim, that time's flying by. Of course, it always does, and the next thing you know, we're going to be looking down the road. It's going to be October. We're all going to be out there in Vegas, which is where I can reliably see you each year. I know I'll see you before that, but we'll be out there in Vegas. Are you looking forward to the new venue this year, or what are your thoughts in general on that show?
It should be interesting, I think, moving the location. I myself, I mentioned to you earlier that basically I don't even know if I'm going to go this year. And this will be the first time since the inception of Viva Las Vegas, okay? But I've been doing the shows throughout the country for 43 years now, and maybe it's time just to maybe pass the torch and let more of the younger people go to experience the actual PR work you get to do, not just being in Las Vegas, but, people always think that going to Vegas is just a cakewalk, and you're out there gambling and drinking and taking customers out to dinner, but it's a lot of hard work, and I've been doing it for a long time. So I don't know if I'm going to go. I'm going to kind of just play it by ear for right now and see what happens. But basically, I think moving the show from the Venetian to the convention center might be a good thing. I spoke to someone 2 weeks ago, Eric, that went out and had a host take him through the hotel and see like the ballrooms and the convention center and everything. And he said it was quite impressed with the way everything looked out there. So I think it might be a good change. I don't know. I got a little bit tired of the Venetian myself, but they charge a lot of money for rooms, and we spent a lot of money because we had a fastener suite and had one night with all our customers, the next night with all our vendors up in the suite. But nothing's cheap out there, as you very well know, But yeah, I don't know. I may see you out there. But if not, you'll see my beef jerky out there.
Yes, I certainly hope so. I was going to ask because folks who go to the Vegas show know you got to stop by the Sems booth and get a couple of packages. I always try and sneak as many as I can. How did you begin the tradition of bringing beef jerky as one of your giveaways for the Sems booth?
Well, everybody thinks I make the jerky. Everybody thinks it was my idea, but actually it was not. My previous sales manager, Brian Stark, I bought a timeshare in Aruba, 13 years ago. And at the time, I had a chance. It conflicted with the Vegas show. So it was like Aruba or Las Vegas. And it was like, of course, I took Aruba. So people would come up to the booth and said, hey, where's Kelam? Where's Big Papa? Where's Jimmy? All this stuff. And that was the first year. So the next year he came up with this bright idea. Let's get a giveaway, put your face on it, and off we go. So when people say, where's Jimmy? Here, he's right here. Enjoy him, So it's grown through the years to the point I always joke and say people don't know what size screws we make, but they know we get beef jerky coming, So it's actually been a good thing for us, Yeah, hopefully it'll continue, even if I do exit one day. So they might have to have a new poster child, though.
Oh, I don't think so. That's the answer to the question, where's the beef, right there. How many years has it been?
It's been 13 years now since we've had jerky. So it's been a long. Well, actually, it was 13 years. Eric, sorry.
Yeah, well, and you know what, Jim? I think that if the Vegas show people hear you're not coming, they're gonna be calling you and paying for your trip. Let me tell you, I think every time I walk past your booth, everybody is lined up to talk to you. It's like, we need to talk with Jim. We have to talk with Jim. I don't think jerky's going to be good enough. We'll miss you when that happens, if that happens this year. But and
again, I'm going to play it by ear. But just kind of what you said, Jackie. My father was in the cold heading business for 45 years, and it's not like I grew up to say, "Oh, I want to be a fastener man." But I kind of got roped into it, and here I am 45 years later. But the one thing that I always took to heart that he always told me, he said, "Son, remember one thing, you can never have too many friends in life." And that's what I've always tried to use as my kind of mantra, per se, and just make as many friends as you could. And, years ago when I was a young man going to New York and selling, there were a lot of good fastener people back then that would say, "Come here, kid." And he'd put his arm around me and say, "I want to introduce you to so-and-so." And it's like, we'll never sell this guy. He says, but one day you may need him for something, or you may need a favor. And it all started clicking with me. And I still try to pass that along to the young people now that I deal with, that make as many friends as you can along the road, because it's going to pay you back one day. And if it doesn't, you still have made a good friend.
Yeah, I agree with you too. And I do the same thing. If people send me a part, that I don't represent a company that, can supply it, I certainly recommend them. And, obviously if it's a Sems, I send them your way, or, it's just helping people know where to go and get things, and just helping people in general. It's the human touch.
And most people, Jackie, will learn to appreciate you and thank you, and they may call you again sometime, or at least try you on a different type product that may go for one of your principles. So that's what it's all about.
Exactly. Yeah.
But, yeah, hopefully I'll get to see you out there. But I'll see you prior to that anyhow. I mean, you guys will be in Chicago, won't you?
Yes, I'll be there.
I'll be there too. We've got a string of things coming up, actually. The season is just getting heated up for all those types of things, and hard to believe, again, it's another year. And we're all on the ride. Well, Jim Kelam with Sems and Specials, folks know how to get a hold of you. Just follow the trail of beef jerky wrappers. But if you don't see those, you can get out to the Sems website. That is semsandspecials.com. Hope you will do that. And Jackie, so glad that you were able to join us. And again, one of these serendipity things, it just happens to work. I guess that's one of the real special things about this industry. We have kind of an intimate thing going, and I think it came across during this segment. So Jackie and Jim, thanks so much for taking part in this fully threaded radio segment.
Thank you for letting me interfere.
And Jackie, thank you for all your kind words. You're a very lovely lady. So you're a good.
Look forward to seeing you. And we'll keep the Red Shoe Diaries to ourselves, okay?
Please do. Please do. That gets your purchase orders, like I always told you. So.
Way to go, Jackie. You set us up for the follow-up segment, in which hopefully we'll get one of these days. Jim Kelam, Sems and Specials, Jackie Ventura. Kind of a big deal in this industry. And we'll be right back with more fully threaded radio.
Talk radio for the fastener industry. It's not really all that bad for the most part. Brian and Eric, fully threaded radio.
You probably know that Lindstrom is an industry leader in metric fasteners. And there's a good chance you know we recently expanded to provide a wide range of high-grade inch fasteners. But what you probably don't know is that Lindstrom has made a serious commitment to earn your socket business. How serious? Well, let's start with 11,000 products. Announcing Lindstrom's expanded line of socket products, including socket head cap screws, flat head socket cap screws, button head socket cap screws, socket shoulder screws, and more. Plain, plated, or patched, in a full range of inch and metric sizes. Special lengths and thread pitches available through in-house fabrication. Always packed to your specification. Lindstrom. Flexibility, choice, and value at every turn. Here for everything distributors need. To learn more about Lindstrom and our expanded line of socket products, visit LindstromSockets.com. Lindstrom, by any measure. To speak with a sales representative, call 1-800-328-2430.
Did you know Mexico accounts for 34% of all trade in Latin America? Hi, everybody. It's Lynn Dempsey, here to announce the meeting point for the Latin American fastener industry. It's Mac Brooks Fastener Fair Mexico, which takes place on June 20th and 21st, 2017, in Mexico City. Fastener Fair Mexico attracts manufacturers, distributors, suppliers, and end users from across Latin America's fastest-growing industries. With over 2,000 buyers, more than 200 exhibiting companies from around the world, and a highly informative distributor business development conference, this third edition of the show is set to be the biggest yet. As the leader in worldwide fastener exhibitions, Mac Brooks has pulled out all the stops to provide maximum value for any fastener distributor operating or considering doing business in Latin America. Don't miss Fastener Fair Mexico, June 20th and 21st in Mexico City. For booth space, details, and to register online, log on to www.fastenerfair.com/Mexico. That's fastenerfair.com/Mexico. I need 5,000 3/4 10 by 9 and 3/4 grade 8 zinc yellow tap bolts right away, but they're not a standard size.
Solution Man Ken. I carry a wide variety of sizes and I can quickly cut them to any length. See Solution Industries website for details at solutionind.com.
Using your bare hands?
I do use a saw on smaller parts, actually.
This is Rosa, the preferred riveter at Brighton Bass International. You're listening to Fully Threaded Radio with Eric and Brian.
Brian and Eric back with you in the online fastener boogie machine, Fully Threaded. Well, Bri, it's good to know that Jim Kelam will not be leaving the industry entirely. So with his semi-retirement, he'll still be around for a while.
Yeah, right. I would think, given what the FDI is doing, it's probably more exciting for him to stay in it for a while, actually.
Yeah, good point. That report by Mike McNulty and Dave Manthey was kind of unique in our experience so far, isn't it?
Right. And, the interesting thing is that, and you can see this if you look at these graphs that Bob Bear makes up. Very nice of you. Thanks, Bob. For a long time, with little momentary switches, the FDI really used to lead the PMI. It was not really visible by how much, but we did keep looking at it, trying to work out by how much. However, for at least the last year, the PMI has been leading the FDI.
So it's been a reversal.
Yeah, it's reversed. It's sort of interesting. And it's a lag of a couple of months. It's quite interesting how it's changed around. So we'll leave it to other people to try and work out why that is. Okay, we've thought of different explanations. None of them make much sense.
I haven't heard Dave speak on that subject, but maybe we need to run it by him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, clearly the PMI is now probably at least 2 months ahead of the FDI. Could be 3.
I'm not a statistician, and I don't play one on Fastener Talk Radio.
or on TV. Right, anyway, that's just my thoughts on the FDI.
A big word of thanks to all of our many guests on today's episode of the podcast. Jim Kelam of Sems and Specials. Jackie, kind of a big deal, Ventura, for sitting in with us on that one. Kenny Sanker of the Young Fastener Professionals. Terry Windham, SEFA President. Mike McNulty and Dave Manthey with the aforementioned FDI numbers on the Fastener News Report. And, of course, Carmen Vertullo. Way to shout out that fully threaded pride, Carm.
Right. Thank you.
The title sponsors of Fully Threaded Radio are Stelfast. For service you deserve and people you trust, it's Stelfast. And Lindstrom. Lindstrom, by any measure. Fully Threaded is also sponsored by 3Q, Buckeye Fasteners, Fastenal, Fastener Technology International, Fastener Fair Mexico, InSequel Software, ND Industries, The Worth Group, Volt Industrial Plastics, and Solution Industries, home of Solution Man. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening in today. We had our ups, we had our downs, not too many vicissitudes, hopefully. But whatever you thought of the show, we hope that you'll share it with us. The email address is ftr@fullythreaded.com. You can also talk to us through Twitter, where the handle is fullythreaded.
Well, we sort of covered a pretty wide range of interests, okay?
We were all across the board. Mostly positive subjects, though, Bri.
Right.
So I think before we close out today, we better sully that with something a little bit negative. What do you think?
Well, why not? Yeah.
Yeah, well, here's one for you, folks. Fake news is in the headlines everywhere you look these days, seems. And we've got one which is kind of a follow-on story to something we were reporting in a recent episode, and it has to do with the steel capacity in China. Remember that one, Bri? Everybody was talking to that related to steel prices?
Yep, right. How the prices are going to go up because China started limiting its own manufacture of steel.
Exactly. So they were reducing their capacity, and this was related also to their air pollution problem. So multifaceted issue going on, but ultimately resulting in alleged lower capacity, higher prices. So right after we reported that, we saw this fly by. A lot of you probably caught it because it was back in mid-February that I saw the headline. This one, I just picked one at random. There were several. Is by Simon Denyer. It was in the Washington Post. Headline, China's steel capacity cuts were fake, report says.
Yeah, I read a similar set coming out of the BBC, actually. It was that they were really just shutting down factories that weren't producing anything anyway.
And it sounds like there was some definite shell game playing going on here. This story starts, when it comes to steel, China is faking it. Faced with global condemnation for flooding world markets with cheap steel, China announced last year it had implemented ambitious cuts in steel capacity. In fact, China's steel industry actually saw a net increase in operating capacity, equivalent to twice Britain's total capacity, a report concludes. So I guess you can't get much faker.
Right. And we're expected to believe everything coming out of them. You're right. Including the status of the economy.
What next? We're going to find out CNN hasn't been telling the truth.
Oh, no. The Communist News Network.
That's what some people call it.
That's what I call it.
There was another comment in the article here related to the air pollution issue. It says, quote, that's bad news for the air in Beijing, but it could also inflame China's trade relations with the United States and the EU, which have repeatedly accused China of dumping cheap steel abroad. So,
right.
All these things are interrelated.
Right.
Little Fastener fake news for you there, everybody, to cleanse the palate and really bring the overall tenor of the podcast down.
Right.
As we close out our soap opera themed episode, and what do you make of all this, Bri? We covered a lot of ground, as you said.
Yeah, right. We've gone from youth to age. I mean, the young fastener professionals to something that's been around for 80 years, 90 years, rivets. Okay.
That's right. Everybody's favorite threadless commodity. So how do we close out? I mean, you got to tie it all together. What do you say? What's a good punchline for the episode, would you say?
Oh, you could say the young and the threadless.
Great Scott, Brian, you've done it again. The young and the threadless. And that's going to put this episode of the podcast, number 114, in the can. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. For Brian Musker, this is Eric Dudas. Get out there, sell some screws, and we'll talk to you next time.
Till next time, folks. Okay.
Fully Threaded Radio is a production of Fastener's Clearinghouse. Music provided by Audionautics.
This, my friends, is a birthday party. Just look. I see a real laundry job ahead. Fruit stains, mustard, grass stains, and plenty of plain dirt. But I know a wonderful new way to get this birthday party wash bleach white. It's a new idea, a new detergent that I think you'll be interested in. And this is it, new Oxidol.